Good morning, everybody. I'm going to share with y'all some stuff today that's really on my heart. And I'll go ahead and just start off by saying that uh, it's really, really weird to look at yourself and talk. That's already number one. Strange. And I know you'll think, well, you might already do that because you do a video blog. Yeah, it still is weird. And, but one of the pages that I follow that really, really struck a chord with me today is from the Mighty. I forgot the exact name. Mental Illness Mighty, something like that. I can't remember, but it's something like that. And one of the videos they posted today was, if we don't talk about it, who will? And that's huge. That's really why I've started doing the video blog, the Coffees in Chaturanga. And today's Coffee in Chaturanga, I really wanted to do with you live. I don't always do that. None of our recordings are edited. What you get is what you get with me. But that struck such a chord with me on, if we don't talk about it, who will? And I think just the word mental, or the phrase mental illness, already has that stigma with it. I mean, with my anxiety and my PTSD and depression, I don't always first think of it as mental illness, because I think when we think of the phrase mental illness, we think of a treatment program or anything like that, or even a meme that you see on Facebook. And I mean, I think we all have all these feelings about it, but there's also such a misconception about it, such a misunderstanding. Let me go ahead and tell you that I am not a certified health professional. No, I'm not. What I am is a human being, and my anxiety, my depression, my PTSD looks different from others, and others looks different from mine. And I think it's really important that we have this conversation, because those that have this going on in their mind don't know how to have the conversation. They don't know how to talk about it. And the last thing they want to do is talk about it, because you have all of this going on in your head. And, part of my anxiety is trying to weed out the comment section on this, because I want to read it and I want to answer. And I'm not saying don't comment, but I'm just saying that that's a part of how I am. So those of y'all that might try to call me or text me and you're like, why haven't I heard from you for a few days? It kind of freaks me out that I have like 37 unread text messages or 97 voicemails. You think I'm exaggerating? Ask my husband. So that's one of those things. It just looks different for everybody. I didn't even know that I had any sort of anxiety, depression, any lasting effects from events in my life with PTSD until I started seeing a therapist for the very first time during my divorce in 2007. And it opened so many doors in a good way, but when the doors were opening, it was so fucking scary. I didn't want to go there at all. And right now, it's like it takes me back to it, just overwhelms me. But because I was willing to go there, I really, really had some breakthroughs. And the breakthroughs are not fun. It's not these memes that you see on Facebook. It's not these, I don't know, these Hallmark cards. I mean, I guess some people can experience that. I did not. Mine was scary, and I had to reach out to people and just figure out, everything that I had going on in my head, this talk going on, was it normal? I hate that word. I'm just going to tell you right now. I don't ever use it. I don't ever use it in yoga, when I teach. If you notice, when I teach, I use the word natural, because I just can't stand that word. It's probably because I have a negative connotation attached to it. But when I started seeing a therapist for the first time in 2007, I had the same feeling that I think a lot of us have, is you sit on a couch and you talk to somebody, you tell them their feelings, and they're supposed to fix you, diagnose you, and that's not it. For me, it started the internal work that I was already doing with my yoga practice, but it gave me an outlet on who I talk to. How do I get this out without creating another addiction? without going to a non-healthy outlet. Especially with my eating disorder past, and I can latch on to things. And I'm kind of like a light switch. I'm on or off. Even though I'm really calm and collective, um, it's still on or off. But that really started my journey, is that I reached out to somebody. But you want to know why it took me till 2007 to do that? Because I'd thought about it for a really long time about going to see a therapist. Was I didn't know who to trust. My name is really understood in the community. There's, you know, there's a way that people can take stories and rumors and twist them. And what if you have all the real key pieces? That's good, right? I mean, that's good. That's just kind of how we're programmed. We like to know all the juicy details about things. I didn't know who I could trust. No idea. I knew I could trust my parents, but there's only so far you can talk to somebody that you love. And that's hard for that loved one to hear, because they might feel that they can't give you what you need, and they might not be able to. That's not wrong. That's just the way it is. And I needed someone that was not biased, that I really had never met. They might have known me. I mean, it's hard not to know my name, and that's, what I struggle with. And I did some searching, and I reached out to certain people, and I said, who can I go to that's really not going to sell my story? Because as open and honest as I am with y'all and my yoga students, there's just some stuff that I'm not going to talk about publicly, because it is the way I tactfully respect myself, my family, but I talk to someone about it. I don't keep it in anymore. And it was so wonderful. And during that time, I ended up moving to Las Vegas for a couple of years, and I still kept my therapist. We did phone calls weekly, sometimes 3 times a week. I mean, what I needed, I went for. And it's challenging when you really don't know who you can trust. There's so many different issues. But that's one of my issues, and that's what I hear right now. In the past couple of weeks since we've launched Coffee and Chaturangas, I've gotten so many messages. I've had so many conversations about people openly sharing things because they felt comfortable sharing it with me, or just saying, in general, that they didn't realize other people might have felt that way. And y'all, that is why I do this. I don't do this for empathy or for attention or for any of that. What I know what helped me is, along the way, the people that spoke up, and I listened. I might not have talked to them, but I listened, and I realized I wasn't alone. And that's my hope is for this. I didn't realize that growing up, when I was, and I still am this way, I have to have lights on in the house. Even at night, there's certain ways we have to sleep with the lights on. I didn't realize that the noises I was hearing, sometimes I would make up stories. Sometimes I would think it was a ghost, although I will tell you a couple of times I think it was. But beyond that, voices I would hear, the scenarios I would make up in my mind, what I'd think was really going to happen, and there was nothing happening except maybe creaks and noises. I mean, I didn't put that together, that there was something going on because of what had happened to me when I was little. No idea. The house we grew up in on Cantrell, it's huge. It's a big house. The rooms are big. And I remember I would run from room to room, and I would just think, no one come out of a door and get me. No one come out of a door and get me. And I still do that. There's a way that I park my car. There's a specific way of how I enter and exit doors. How I sleep at night. I have to be able to hear through both ears. I, just don't sleep well. I don't get into my REM sleep except just maybe a couple of times a week maybe. And I never understood. And if I've made a couple of posts about it, and maybe there's rumors about it, but I'll go ahead and tell you the story again. I'm comfortable telling the story, just so you know. It's not that I'm saying something that I don't want to say. But when I was 18 months old, well, really when I was a baby, I would go to work with my parents a lot because they both worked a lot. So I lived at their businesses with them. And their first business was at the corner of H and University, that long strip of businesses. And I was 18 months old. All I remember is that it was dark. And as I was older, I would dream about this. And I didn't really know what I was dreaming about. It was very, very clear what I was dreaming about, but I just didn't talk about it out loud. When I started to talk about it out loud is when my parents started to tell me about what I was really dreaming about. And it was late. I had been with my parents at work, and all I remember is my mom was holding me, and we exit the building, and there were two men with guns and masks, and they were attempting to take me. That was their goal. What I remember from then, I don't remember any words really. I know my mom and dad do. But I remember dad being on the ground. I remember mom fighting really hard because I never left her arms. I know that mom and I ran, or she ran with me in the middle of the road. And I know that no one stopped. And that's what I remember. Now, my mom and dad, there's three sides to every story. They have their own version. But that's mine. And I would dream about it. And I would dream other things too. I don't have to go in detail about that, but events surrounding that. Like almost putting myself in the position again. Really odd dreams that would happen in my parents' backyard. And, growing up, I was just afraid of different things. Halloween, that was awful. I mean, you might as well mark that off for me as a kid. The mask, I didn't like masks, I didn't like beards, I didn't want to be around guys besides my dad. And this really has nothing to do with that part of the story, but I know people have asked me before, what happened to the guys? Nothing. Unfortunately, my parents knew who they were. They were patients of my dad's business, and they had just done work with them that day. And there were some key words, some just very, very, very specific keys of how they knew who they were. And there was legally no one would do anything. That's a whole different story. I did not know that until I was probably in my 20s, and that's probably a good thing. My parents sheltered me a lot from a lot of things, but I think that's a really good thing that they sheltered me about, is because knowing those people were walking the streets, that would have really, I think that would have taken me over and just, I don't think I wanted to leave the house. But, gosh, that shaped me for so much, and it's really shaped me on how I raise Riley. But I have to pay attention, and I have to make sure that I don't take her down a path of being freaked out and overly cautious. But at the same time, I think, you're my only baby. Even if I have 10 of you, I got 10 babies. You're the only ones I have. So I've got to take care of you. My family's been really, really patient about it. Because I know as I started therapy in 2007, I would talk to my parents about a lot of things, and some things I wouldn't, because it's hard to go there. But I was already going there with someone else and speaking with them. And it was really hard for my dad to communicate with me about stuff like that. And I would assume it would be. But it was hard for him to communicate about a lot of other things too. As loving as he was, it was, there were periods of when I kind of fell away from, I felt kind of being close to Dad, and I'm not really sure what that was just yet. And there were periods, especially during my divorce, through the time that he passed for the next umpteen years, we were really, really close. And I think he just started to realize that I was way more open than he realized that I could be. And I was very good at communicating. I was getting better at saying how I felt. And he was to a point of what he was capable of doing. So I didn't push him beyond that. And I know that Dad suffered from depression. He would just, never talk about it. Maybe he talked about it with Mom, but he didn't talk about it with me. And that's another thing is, just these key words like depression, anxiety, any type of mental illness word, they're so hard to say because we use them just so broad termed. It's just one of those things. So we get this stigma about it where you don't want to talk about it because you don't want anybody to think you are crazy. And then when you do talk about it, people don't believe you because you don't fit this mold. I know that stereotypically, I don't fit the mold of someone that has panic attacks. What the stereotypical mold I'm talking about. My family knows, because my family knows that when I say, I can usually tell when I'm getting into something. I can tell when I am I have a trigger. I don't know when the triggers come, but I know when it's about to happen. And I can say, anxiety's bad tonight. This is what I need from you. And I think that's been really helpful, is that I've gotten to a point where I am open about what I need from other people. And that's also been hard because there's so many people, when they figure out that something is going on, they want to help. That's our human nature. That's what we want to do. And I've had to say no. I've had to ignore because I don't know how. It's hard for me to still say no. I know somebody wants to help, but I have my ways that really work. And not everybody can tap into how that works. So I've got my key people that I know that really help me. And to those that have reached out and I've said no wholeheartedly, never ever say no to hurt feelings. Now, a long time ago, I would say yes because I didn't want to hurt feelings. And it was really confusing. It made the other person feel good and they felt like they were doing something good because they don't know the difference. They don't know what's going on in my brain because I'm not letting it come out. And taking that first step of just letting something like that come out and finding a healthy outlet, finding an outlet that you trust, like we talked about earlier, that's huge. That is so huge. I've had a lot of talks about, sorry, it's telling me my storage is almost full. I'm hoping that it doesn't cut me off because my phone is a piece of shit. If you didn't know me by now and see me with my phone, it's awful. But I feel like I've talked a lot about therapy a lot lately, and which is good because you need to talk about that. And I've talked about it again, and I'm about to start this whole new journey with therapy. And I'm really excited, like uber giddy, silly excited about it because I feel like I want to go to the next step of my healing. It doesn't mean I'm ready to be healed, that I'm ready to go in the next part of my lifetime, my timeline. I'm ready to do it. And I trust is such a big issue. And I have a lot of people that I can recommend in certain ways, depending on what's going on. And again, I'm not a healthcare professional. I don't have like a checklist of like, yes, you've got this. I don't diagnose people. I just listen. And if I can't listen, I'm going to tell you somebody that is really good at listening, because I think there's somewhere that we can all go to. So if you are listening to this and you're thinking, well, I've always wanted to learn about more. I need to figure out if there's something I'm going through. You know, I want to know if it's normal what I'm going through. I don't like that word, but you know what I mean. Um, I think I can help you, guide you into a place you can go to. It's not me that could do that, because I've done that before where I've tried to take it on. And that's a whole different thing is when you try to take on someone else's energy. I did not know there were types of meditation and prayers that you can do to tap into that. And there's ways to understand if you take on other people's suffering, and there's ways to start to let it go. Usually when people tell me something, my reaction is, you know, I'm a sponge. I take it all in. It's not going to go anywhere. It is. I don't tell anybody anything. And someone said to me once, you do realize what you just said, right? That you're a sponge. What do you do with that sponge? Do you ever wring it out? Well, shit, at that point, no. I didn't know how to wring it out. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. It's like I have these little compartments up here, and it just stays. And I had to figure out how to get it out. One of the ways that inspired me, encouraged me to want to get it out and to let go of that spongeness going on in my brain was I have had a lot of friends, a lot of acquaintances commit suicide and take their life in some form, attempt to take their life in some form. And I am not at that point where that is what I need to work on. What point that brought me to was that I need to expel this sponge. And I need to keep going on this journey, and I need to not back out of it. I need to not be ashamed. I need to not be embarrassed. I need to accept that this is a part of who I am, and this is a part of what's going to take me to the next part of my journey. Because there is another journey for me. I'm still on it. I haven't gone anywhere. And suicide affects not just the person, but everyone around them. Everyone's life is completely different after that point. And it's like I teach in yoga at the end of the practice. When you're at the very end of your practice, you're in Shavasana, and you're like, oh, I don't want to get up. I don't want to carry on. I just want to lay here and go to sleep. You know, that very moment, there will never be another moment just as it is. Just like that. No other moment just like that. Because everything else is in the past. It is. And it's not going to be the same going forward. It's completely different. So even if suicide has not affected you, you have not been the person that has attempted, you might have known someone. It might have been an acquaintance and you didn't know this person, but you read about it, you watched it, and it affected you. Don't ignore that it affected you. I had such an incredible get-together this past week with a yoga student that is grieving. And as much as I was there for her, that was my intention, to be there for her, she was there for me way more, I think, than I was there for her. I mean, I was present. I was doing it. I was doing my thing. I was there. But I just felt like it was such a pivotal moment in my life and my healing process that that interaction was supposed to happen. And we talked about feeling and how, you know, I feel sad, I feel happy, I feel bliss. You feel all these things. Do you really feel them? Are you allowing yourself to truly feel them, or do you just run from it? That's a lot of the reasons why I don't see some people come back to yoga. They'll be in and out, not consistent. And it's not because of their work schedule or because they've had an injury, but it's because they've had some type of inquiry or breakthrough. And we run from that because we don't want to feel the yucky stuff. We don't want to go through the shitstorm again because you're like, I've already done that. I don't want to do it again. And you're not going to go through that exact same thing again. You know, I find myself, it's been 5 years since Dad's passed, and it's not, at this point, I don't feel that every day is different. I feel like there are certain triggers that lead me to a different part of the grieving process. Like last fall, what I talked about in the last Coffee and Chaturanga blog was last fall, I really did fall into a deep depression. Now, some people might not have known. Yeah, I'll be honest, I can put on a good face. I don't think I'm an actress, but when I'm in my happy place, I'm in my happy place. And you might not know that. But that was something that I went through, is that I grieved over something that existed, maybe didn't exist. And I just did it. And it was a part of it. And I understand that, you know, now that it's been 5 years, well, that doesn't mean I should be at a certain point in my grieving process. I am where I am in my process. That's what I accept. That's what I go with. And I don't know what's going to happen next week. I don't know what's going to happen in 2017, which, by the way, I can't believe it's almost November. I thought it was just January yesterday. You know, almost a whole year has gone by. And that's another thing. I mean, I could sit here and think, what are the things I haven't done this year that I've wanted to do? What are my goals? I've done that before, and all it does is put more pressure on my shoulders. I feel like I have enough pressure on my shoulders, even if it's just trying to get Riley to brush her teeth in the morning, which feels like it takes 20 freaking minutes to do that. It takes 5 just to put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, because if it can't squeeze out, then we have a meltdown. So, you know, the last thing I'm going to do is put pressure on myself because I didn't do something this year. No, I don't do that. It took me about 3 decades to understand that, but I don't do that anymore. And I think it's just really important that we keep this conversation going. I'm about to go through the comments and looks. I see that y'all left me some. I appreciate that. I say if you have any questions, throw out a question. You can do that too. I don't know if I can answer, but I do my best. But these mental health issues, these emotional patterns, they don't look the same for everyone. We have no idea what kind of a battle people are going through. No clue. You know, someone made the comment to me the other day, doesn't know me very well, and said, well, you've got the yoga body, you've got it all. And I shouldn't have held back the tears, but I did. And I thought to myself, it's hard not to wear on your face what you've gone through your whole life. The abuse I've put myself through, externally, internally, not eating, binging, going to where you can see my bones, going to where you don't know I have bones because I go to both spectrums. You know, no one knows where you've been, but it's all because of stuff that's going on inside of us. My old self would have jumped to the defense and go ahead and thrown out my full story, but in a defense mechanism. I don't know what's going on in that person's mind. I don't know where that comment stems from. I don't like to assume. But it stems from somewhere. And we all have this going on, to some degree. And the days we don't. The days we do, we do. But that doesn't mean that when I have a smile and I tell you, yeah, I'm having a good day, and you ask me how it is, and you saw my post earlier and it was really, really depressing, that doesn't mean I'm not a happy person, that I love where I am in my life right now. I do love where I am in my life right now. There are some things that I really want to change that give me anxiety. There's some things I can change. There's some things I can't change, so I have to deal with those things totally separately. Full force, go to this one. Let's take it on. Let's see what we can do better. This one that I can't change, I've got to take a different direction on that because I can't change it. So nothing is cookie cutter. It really isn't. I'm going to attempt to go through these comments and not disconnect us or throw my phone off of this little tripod. Oh, good morning. You know, Renee, I got a point. Your comment really speaks volumes. As a psychologist, raising awareness all day. But it means so much coming from a well-respected public figure like you. I appreciate you for recognizing that, because when you're in the public eye, I mean, that's a part of what I went through too, is I wanted to run from that. Sometimes I didn't mind it. I get it thrown in my face a lot that I use it to my advantage. That's a totally different story, because I can tell you right now what we're going through, you watching me, you listening. If I'm friends with you on Facebook, I know you. I've met you somehow. This is public live feed. We might have never met. And someone might have forwarded you this video. You might have heard of my name. But because you heard of my name, it sparked an interest. That's my responsibility. And some will say, no, it's not. You can do whatever you want. Well, I do what I want. I've really learned to do that. And I choose. It's my choice. It's my choice to use what I am comfortable doing to reach out to you. I would have never done this when I liked being on MySpace. You know, however many umpteen years ago MySpace was around. It's probably still around. I just don't log in. But I would have never done this because I didn't feel comfortable. And during that time frame, which is around the time of my divorce, I wanted to hide. I didn't want my last name anymore. And when I was married before, I didn't want my Osborne last name. I wanted to run from it. And it took me a long time, especially in my therapy, to realize, what the hell am I afraid of? One, I was afraid of feeling. Two, I was afraid of what others were going to think because of the bullying that I had when I was a kid, getting made fun of for either my size, my height, my name. So I just wanted to run from it. But now I have this incredible ability, and so does everybody, no matter what your name is. It can be Cupcake. I know somebody out there heard that. It could be Cupcake, because I call somebody Cupcake. It doesn't matter what your name is. If you are comfortable using what your story, any part of your story, because I don't have to give all of it, I don't. I give what I can. And that's really important. So I appreciate you, Renee, for recognizing that and saying that. And I appreciate your work, Renee, way, way more than you think. And hearing that I'm not alone, I mean, that's huge. I know I'm not alone. And that's a part of why I do it, is because I don't want y'all to think you are alone either. I didn't understand that I had panic attacks. I blamed them on hormonal surges when I was in high school. Those of y'all that might have been in class with me in high school, if you remember when I gave speeches, what happened to my face, what happened to my chest. And I would be really, really flushed, hugely flushed. I would give speeches. I don't know, they might last however long they were supposed to last. It could be 2 minutes, it could be 12 minutes. I would give the speech. I'd make a fine grade on it, B, A, or whatever. And I don't remember giving the speech. I can't tell you the words that I said. No idea. Yeah, I had note cards in front of me, but I didn't read from that. That was just my, my little points I listened to. And I find that I still do that in certain situations. Might not be giving a speech. And it wasn't like I was daydreaming. Because when I came out of this, I would sit back down at my desk, and I compared it to after I had experienced passing out. Because I had that a lot growing up. I would pass out. There's that coming to phase where you're hot, you're cold, you're clammy, you're shaky, your hearing comes back, and it's like the whole world is there again. And I mean, now I talk in front of people all day long. I talk in front of lots of people. I teach people. And college, it happened a little bit because, the thing I hated the most in school, well, not the most, but one of the things I hated was roll call because it was embarrassing. I didn't want people to turn around and see my name. When I was in school, that was the height of when people knew me. People knew that name. It struck a chord, and they just wanted to stare. And that was weird for me. So that was weird to get over. But, yeah, anything like that. If you are experiencing it, you've never told anybody, there's people you can trust. If you don't know how to even go about looking for it and trust someone, I'll help you find that person. That doesn't mean that I have my one person that I'm trying to send you to because I have a deal cut out. I just want to go ahead and throw that out there. That's not how I work. I know a lot of really, really good therapists, counselors, people that can help in different situations, people that I would trust if I went to. There's a lot of things that I haven't tackled. So I'm not sure about certain persons like that, but I would love to be that medium person to help you do that. My phone just scrolled randomly, so I'm going to see. My husband said he loves me and that I'm special. Thank you. Or maybe, no, he said I was special, but I know you love me. And thank you all. I'm reading a few comments now. I appreciate that y'all not only listened, because I know I can tell that my text has blown up across the top of my phone, because I can tell that the wheels are spinning for you. But a couple of things I just want to remind you is it doesn't look the same for everybody. We can't assume things. And in today's world, so many different things can trigger us. This is personal. I can't speak for anybody else, but if you don't hear from me and you think something is wrong, but I am on other outlets and I'm still going to work and I'm doing that, I don't ignore people. There's a lot of times where I try to prioritize what communication I need to go about to get things finished, and it doesn't mean you're less important. Some things give me anxiety. Some things trigger. And no one's at fault for any of that. That's just how my brain operates. It just does. And if you saw my post yesterday about someone that had randomly contacted me and had some of our old photo albums and were giving them back to me, that's what I'm kind of looking at right now. If you're wondering, when I look down sometime, it's just they're everywhere, and I've got one next to me. If you're wondering how the photo albums got away from us, after my dad passed, really before my dad passed, and then the continuation when he was in the hospital and afterwards, it was just really a financial shitstorm that went public. A lot of people bitched about it, didn't believe it. Close friends didn't believe it, but I lived it, and it happened. And in the midst of all of those things, we had to auction a lot of private things. There was a lot of confusion in the auctions, not with the auction people. I don't want to say that. There's just some private manners that were very confusing, and a lot of our personal stuff didn't make it into our hands. It's like I have my dad's. I have a couple pair of his socks, his windbreaker. I have a few pictures. So when people start to call me and give me things, I get nervous at first because I think somebody might be fucking with me and just want to meet me. It's just the way I think. When you've been used a lot of your time, you think that's going to happen. And every once in a while, you find really, really good people that you don't know. And someone that did not know, actually she Googled the pictures of what these were, and she sent me a Facebook message and said, I have these. So some of these photo albums that were recovered, like these, are from the Pink Tomato Festival in Warren. You see that car? Yeah, my dad had I don't know if you'd call it an addiction. He had a collection of cars. Somebody asked him how many cars he had at one point. He could not answer them. If you know my dad, that's hilarious. If you don't, it appears to be like a hoarder. And it's funny to me. So yeah, we were marshals in the parade, Pink Tomato Festival. And a little trivia on the Pink Tomato Festival, if you've ever been, they auction off tomatoes. We were the first people to always get the first crate of tomatoes. We'd take some home, but most of them we would hand them out to people. And we do barbecues. So this is what this photo album is about. And when I mean barbecues, if you haven't seen it, I'll try to get to a plate. There might not be one in here. But it was a 20-pound plate. It wasn't your natural barbecue. It had every single meat option, like a full chicken, not like a chicken breast, but a full chicken, a full turkey leg, potato chips, huge pulled pork sandwich. I think Dad would think it was hilarious that I eat meat now probably once a month. Yeah, all kinds of pictures. So there's tons of albums, and this helps. This is really good with my healing process and anxiety. If you would have shown me these albums within the first year that Dad had died, I mean, I would have crumbled, and that's pretty natural. That's what you do. And there's days when I can't look at pictures. There's days when like, you know, it was happy last night. Riley's sitting next to me. I find a picture of Dadu because she knows who he is. And I showed Tristan. I said, look, who does this look like? It's my dad. And he goes, that's Riley. I mean, it's eye-freaking identical. They're little cheekies and everything. And she loves looking at pictures like that. She understands to her 4-year-old extent that he's in heaven. He's also below the ground. She's been to the cemetery with me. That's really confusing, but she knows the concepts. So, you know, different things help you. And it's going to be different parts of your life. You can't predict when it's supposed to happen, how you want it to happen. We just got to let that shit go. Because how you want it to happen is not the way it's going to happen. I'm just going to go ahead and lay it on the line. It's not. You know, nobody wanted anybody to pass away. We didn't know Dad was going to pass away. It happened, and the effects that it had on all of us, it's all differently. I mean, you know, some of y'all haven't even met my dad. You just know stories that I tell, and it affects you in a different way. So, and that was just someone that was close to me passing. Imagine how that feels when it's someone that takes their own life. That's a completely different impact on everybody around them. That's not thought of during that moment. And don't be ashamed if you need to reach out to somebody, even though you were not the person directly in contact with this person that happened to. Different things trigger us. I know I made a post a few weeks ago about a little boy that's been missing for 27 years, and they had answers. They found the person that did it, and they found their remains, and that hit me hard for a good week. And it freaked me out because my life could have been totally different at 18 months old when those guys tried to take me. Totally different. And I hear the term loosely used a lot about being a helicopter mom and just sheltering and hovering over and hover. Man, this is your only chance with your child. Your only chance. And that's a hard thing to balance, about not hovering and letting them free and be on their own. So that's what I have to work with my therapist and my doctors and my people, is I have to find that balance. But I understand that balance isn't going to happen today. A little bitty tiny snippet of it is, but not all of it is. I have to give myself grace for that. And I have to keep that communication open with my family, because my family is directly affected by what goes on with me. I'm directly affected by what goes on with individuals in my family. And it's a full circle. You know, just don't be ashamed. If you are, start to realize you're not alone, because the shame will eventually pass. The guilt will eventually pass. At this point, I don't feel guilty for things. And for a long time, I thought that meant I was numb and I was not feeling, because that's bad too. That's something that needs to be taken care of, that needs to be talked about. But really, it's not that I'm numb. There's just some stuff that I understand now for me, what I don't have to feel guilty about anymore, because it's not my shit. It's somebody else's shit. I don't want to take care of somebody else's shit. I got enough shit on my plate. As Dad used to call it, shit 101. Well, Dad, I can promise you now, we have a PhD. And whatever beyond that, I'm pretty sure we have graduated from it all. And we got it. I'm going to scroll one more time. You know, I think that this video saves when I'm done. So if you are just now tuning in, I'm going to make sure it saves. Oh, Shanoa, I miss you. All yogis that move out of town, I miss you guys so much. I love that we have Facebook to keep in contact with each other. Yeah, PhD and shit. I like that too. That needs to be our next t-shirt, Tristan, I think. One of those hashtags. But, you know, I'll stay on for a couple more minutes if anybody has a question about anything. Again, I'm not a mental health provider. I don't have any certification in anything like that. I often do use the term loosely, the word therapy, because I feel that so much in my life is therapy. I know that sometimes there's departments and institutions that don't want us to use the word therapy for things, and I just make that choice. I mean, I'm going to let you know what's been in my path. You can choose what's in your path, and I'll tell you what helps me. But I appreciate y'all listening. I want to do more of these, and I don't know if I can add this video or not to Coffees and Chaturanga. I'm going to attempt. If you heard me earlier, my phone is a true piece of shit. It usually doesn't download anything, so it will be on my page though. And if you haven't watched Coffee and Chaturanga and you're kind of wondering what I'm talking about, it's on our website, barefootstudio.com, and it's on the blog. I think we've got about 8 episodes now, and a couple more that we're about to release. I think we'll strike a chord in a new way, a really, really beautiful way. Some guest speakers that we have coming up are just amazing, sensational, and I appreciate them so, so much. I appreciate y'all. In the first episode of Coffee and Chaturanga, I explained that verbal communication is what I'm working on, because as you see in my post, I'm very comfortable in writing and typing. It might not be grammatically correct, but I get it out like I would speak it, but I don't have the nervousness when I write, when I type. It's taken me a while to get to this point when I speak, and I appreciate y'all being there with me, being there for me, letting me be there for you, and doing what's possible for each of us. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, fabulous day. It's beautiful outside. It feels good outside. I am about to go up to Riley's school and read them a book. Can you guess what kind of a story she wants me to read to the class? Christmas story. Yeah, we have Christmas books. And so I get to go do that. I get to take her out to lunch instead of her being at school. So I'm really excited. But I love you all very, very much. I see lots of comments. I know I have not talked about them on here. I'm going to go back and talk to them individually. I appreciate you so much. And know that you are healthy, you are strong, you are beautiful. You are not in this alone. We've got this, and we can do this. So y'all have a great day. I'm going to figure out how to turn this off. Love y'all. Have a good day.